and you are watching another Blitz film review. He has that ability to, trust me, he definitely does. Just his ability to catch balls outside of his frame, his leaping ability, his ability to hang in the air, his yak ability, it's all there. Lowers his helmet, low man wins, bang, rocks the guy.
Hall running free, Brees Hall inside the 10, he's gonna score!
The corners all do their job. You know, if you look at the picture right here, lock.
3rd and 1. Stevens always drilled. What a great defensive play.
I don't try to Monday morning quarterback any of the reviews I do, and I'll try to be honest with a lot of the things I put up.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That's about it. 1 week, 1 week of fun for Jets fans, blowing out the Texans. What would it be? 32-6. And as we should all freaking know better, the disappointment was coming the next week. 30-0, blown out again. Nani put out that stat the other day, maybe yesterday, today. I don't know when it was, but this is our 9th loss of Saleh's tenure, where it's 20 plus points or more, which is quite absurd. And I was just talking about, I just finished the film episode, and I remember the last 2 years at the minimum being like, hey, you know what? Obviously this year without Rodgers, whatever. But specifically last year before the year being like, okay, we have enough talent at this point now on our team to not get consistently blown out all the time. And it's what we've been this year. And there are excuses you can make with the line, with Hackett, with the quarterbacks, whatever it may be. But there's still no excuse for how bad they've been. 5 20-point losses, this 20 plus point losses this season, out of 9 is brutal. That's brutal. I don't know. The other losses were the Falcons, which we lost close, which is still a terrible loss. You lost the Raiders close, which is a terrible loss. You lost the Chiefs close, which was a good game. And I can't think about the other game that we lost that we weren't blown out in. It'll come to me. But yeah, embarrassing. The Jets are not even playing competitive football at this point. You know, again, a 20-point, a 30-point loss in this one to a division rival. It's embarrassing, man. It is. You have that. You have the nuts getting rubbed on the face. You have Zach Wilson falling over. You have more Jersey Shore shit with the Jets now. You know, the Zach Wilson concussion. Did he have a concussion? Did he not have a concussion? Zach's mom coming out and saying that he had some concussion symptoms, but he wanted to try to play. And is that because, you know, Zach Wilson was accused of being soft? So I want to put it out there that he was feeling like he had a concussion. And by the way, I do understand, you know, maybe not a neurologist, but, you know, dehydration and concussions can look pretty similar. But obviously they did not think he had one. And then he came back in and then he left. You had that whole saga. You had Rodgers versus Bawden. You had that whole thing this last week with people being up in arms about them cutting Bawden like he's some stud player, not a guy who's an injured fullback who might not even be ready to play next week and who got signed to the practice squad a couple of minutes ago and who many people knew he would be signed to the practice squad. People were losing his minds that he got cut for Rodgers because people just hate Rodgers and they want to make an issue out of absolutely nothing. So people got pissed off at Rodgers this week, even though realistically all he wants to do is be on the roster so he could practice with his team, which I don't think is a crazy ask. Bawden got released, brought back on the practice squad. He'll most likely be elevated for game day if he is healthy, and they cut some like no-name corner. So are people losing their minds about corner X, you know, not being on the team anymore because of Rodgers? No, but again, people just want to make an issue out of nothing. So yeah, that whole saga. Garrett Wilson on the sideline, you know, talking to Rodgers. You had Rodgers shaking his head on the sideline. You had Lazard after the game coming out and calling out effort and scheme, which obviously that's kind of when the dam starts to break a little bit, when you have players calling out. One, you're coaching when you say scheme, and effort is a player thing as well. Now is a little bit kind of crazy that it's coming from Lazard, a guy who's done absolutely nothing but suck this entire year. Yes, but still, the Jersey Shore Jets, it's been not only bad, but there's been drama too, which could not be more annoying at this point to, you know, not only watch bad football, but then I have to talk about all the other ancillary bullshit. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I'm pretty thankful that the end is near. We have 3 more games, right? Yeah, 3 more games, which by the way, and hello to some people. I'm going to say hello to some people. Some people are starting to pour in a little bit now. We'll figure I'll save this to be 2 hours or an hour. Next week, because it's, Christmas and all that stuff, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, everybody who celebrates and all that stuff. Don't get offended if I say Merry Christmas and you're not, a Christian or whatever. People get angry about everything. But next week, Christmas is Monday, right? And then we have a game on Thursday. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get out a film review by the time the game comes out or the game happens with the Browns. So I don't think I'm going to do that. And then streaming, am I going to stream the day after? I don't know. I might end up live streaming the game this week. I think I have off, right? I work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, so I have off for the game. So if you guys are interested, let's watch the game together. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to have a couple of brews and just watch the game drunk with you guys and just talk shit about the Jets for 3 hours, right? Because I think that's kind of the only thing that's going to work this week. So stay tuned for that. It might be on Friday, but I think most likely I'm going to watch the games with you guys. I know plenty of other channels do it. So even if there's 5 people here, I really don't give a shit. I'm just be watching it and gotta have a camera on me recording it. So it might get a little bit ugly. I will preface it, and Kyle will tell you this, and he said it multiple times. I get super dark when the Jets are playing. Now, with that being said, I typically get super dark when the Jets are playing when I have hope of something, playoffs, whatever it may be. When the Jets are this bad and I know they're going to get smacked, whatever, I get kind of numb, but we'll see how it goes. Because I don't know, a few brews might help, but let's say hello to some people. Simon said before, no Dakota, which I don't know if it was Dakota or somebody else put it in chat like very, very early when I made this stream a couple of days ago. But hello to Simon. Hello to Curly Norman. This franchise hates us all. It's truly the worst. I had the benefit of going to a wedding on Sunday. So I had to leave maybe like midway through the third quarter. So I got to listen to it on the drive there, which is obviously terrible as well, but at least I didn't have to watch it as well. And obviously I watched it with the film and doing the film stuff. But yeah, the franchise does hate us. It's brutal. It's been brutal. It's not only just losing, it's getting blown out. And, for whatever excuses you want to make, and I know the common example is the Browns this week with their 2 tackles down because we're about to play them. You have the Colts with an injured quarterback. You have the Bengals with an injured quarterback. There's so many injuries all around the league now. I'm not going to say they're as bad as the Jets have had at offensive line, but still, these are not teams who are getting blown out. The Dolphins, good example. Robert Hunt out. I think Xavier Howard's out. Holland's out. Their other starting safeties out. One of their running backs is out, I believe. And they blow us the fuck out. Like it's not an excuse to get beat down this bad. Like the lack of effort, the lack of scheme, the offensive line. I think I did 17 plays with the offensive line in the review. That was the worst performance I've ever seen. And it's not just from, Hanson at right guard or Billy Turner at right tackle. And of course those guys were partially to blame because they were fucking terrible, but we expect Billy Turner to be terrible. Which, by the way, some of his technique is just I have to make fun of it in the review, which I'm sure that maybe the offensive line will be the piece that we put up, but brutal blocking by him. Hanson as well. Tippmann disappointed me a little bit this game in terms of his recognition of stunts and being able to pass stuff off. And then Tomlinson has been, the first couple of weeks, he gave us a little bit of hope that he could be like an average-ish player. The last, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever you want to say, he's been just as bad, if not as bad as he was last year, which is a terrible sign for the future because do you pay him what it's like $10 million or $8, $9, $10 million to just not be on the team anymore, and then you save about $8, $9 million. So the question really is, can you find a guard better than Laken Tomlinson for $8, $9, $10 million? I think the answer is probably yes at this point. I just don't want to see this fucking guy talk about eating donuts and shit after a game. So I would like to see him just be gone. And then Becton, obviously, at this point, he's been nothing short of dreadful. And I'm sorry to people I'm going to offend and all that shit because I'm not talking about his injury. But it's not just his injury. The consistent oversetting, the hand placement, the lack of foot speed, it's just been so bad with him as well. And then you pile that on top of the fact that we have Trevor Siemian in a quarterback who can't throw while moving at all. He's a statue quarterback. on top of that with a OC who is probably one of the worst OCs you'll ever see. So it's a clusterfuck of bad with the Jets, and I'm excited for it to be over because then we get to sell ourselves potentially false hope. Let's hope it's not false hope, but I get to start looking into the Michael Pittmans and the T. Higgins and whoever else that are going to be fun to watch. And, Fashanu and Alt and the tackle from Bama and all that stuff. And with Rodgers, it's either going to go really good or really bad. And either way, it's going to come to a head. Either we get to the playoffs, we have some fun, we win a Super Bowl, whatever, or we it all blows up and then it's all started over again. But I'm ready for it one way or the other to be over. This season is just absolutely brutal. I love that cough button. I really do, especially this time of the year. But let's say hello to some people. Dakota, hello. Curly Norman again says, imagine rooting for a team that actually wins. Yeah, man. I've really only done that for the Devils when I was like a kid, like with, Brodeur and Stevens and Ravolsky and all those guys. That's about it, minus the Jets for 2 of those years. Okay, cool. The Jets in 2015 where they probably overachieved. The Mets 2015 and some other years. But yeah, for the most part, I root for some of the shittiest franchises in all of professional sports. It's not fun, but it'll make it that much sweeter. That's legit. That's, I hate kind of saying that, but because it's used too much, but it will be that much sweeter when we do win it. I might be fucking really gray and, I don't know, have a catheter in or something, but I'll figure it out. I'll be rooting. So lost by 5 to both New England and Atlanta. New England, Atlanta, the Chiefs, and there's another one I said before. Chrono Kenny says, who excited that we will never need to see Zach or his mom after this season? Yeah, after this game, after the concussion and all that stuff, and him being $11 million, I know I said last week I would understand if they kept him. I would understand just as much if they were to get rid of him. You trade him for a 5th, 6th round pick, I guess at this point. You recoup however much of that money. I'm not sure of that $11 million. And then you start fresh. You start fresh at this point. Snowball says, hey, Joe, let's go overpay for a backup. Does Minshew or Brissett get an offer as a starter? No, probably. Well, I'd really have to go through the teams, all 32 to say that definitively. But I would say no. Definitely not both of them. Could I see one of them maybe being like a quasi starter or whatever, like Baker was for the Bucs this year? I could see it. I don't see both though. Do I think the Jets even need to get that level of a backup? Maybe not. Maybe a little bit lesser of a guy because how much you have to pay Minshew or Brissett after some of the things they're doing. I don't know. But it's going to be they're going to have to find somebody to be the backup. But I don't think they both get jobs as starter. What's up, Christian? I missed the stream last week. Unfortunately, I didn't know if you saw my comments. Maybe it's misinformed, but I still think Zach Wilson can be a decent QB in a system that works for him. Yeah, I don't know if this was you, and sometimes it's a little bit harder to respond to longer things just because I don't have a lot of time. You kind of said you pretty much, if it was a long comment, MU, it was pretty much everything I said on stream. You said you didn't watch, which is fine. We can obviously share the same opinion. I think Zach, specifically in this game, there was no chance, right? Like there was absolutely no chance. He had the one play where to his left side, I don't know who cleared out the middle. I think it was like an over route or a post. And then you had Garrett Wilson who cooked Ramsey on a dig behind it, but there's like fucking four defensive linemen in his face as he turns around. There was the one scheme, and I know, and maybe in Sabo, we could disagree on scheme and stuff like that. And he said he was okay with, it was a fake handoff to the left where Baldwin takes a few steps to the left and then goes to the right and tries to block an unblocked defensive end. I don't like that design. One, for just the design part of it, and then two, the call against the Dolphins. You have edge rushers who are pinning their ears back to get Zach Wilson and aren't necessarily biting on run fakes, and then you're anticipating that the defensive end is going to squeeze so much air out of the distance between him and the tackle that he's going to get outflanked by Baldwin. It just didn't make much sense. So that was a bad play. Like there was just so much bad on Zach Wilson's plate this week that he didn't really have a chance. There was okay, you don't want to see the play where he fumbles the ball. You want to see him just take that sack there, but at the same time, he's fighting for his life. And that was a penalty, man. I don't know who that was on. Maybe it was Chubb, but Zach Wilson never changes how high he is in terms of like ducking or obviously, standing straight up. And it's helmet to helmet contact. Like if that was fucking Patrick Mahomes, is it a penalty? Probably. So But regardless, yeah, he hasn't had much help. Now, am I going to excuse his Chargers game, his Pats game, some of his other games, even the Bills game, even the Eagles game for the most part? He was ass. No, but there are glimmers of him being, a capable, backup quarterback, which sometimes he is. And I think overall he probably is in that range. But a decent quarterback in just like in terms of a starter, I guess it's possible, now how much, what's your percentage chance on him actually being a decent level quarterback? Like in what system you're talking about? Going to an elite system, the Rams, the Niners, something like that. Yeah, sure. Most guys would succeed. Do I really think Zach Wilson? I think that Shanahan's going to take Zach Wilson from being a backup level quarterback, if not sometimes worse, and if not sometimes better, to being a capable starting quarterback in the NFL. I would say probably not at this point, but hey. Curly Norman says Rodgers is 0 for 1 and 0 yards for the New York Jets. He's done nothing for this franchise. Yeah, I would say this year, obviously with him not playing, he's hurt us more than helped us, right? Just based on the fact alone that he's not playing and he has a huge cap number, that hurts you. Hackett versus anybody hurts you. Dalvin Cook versus anybody hurts you. Donovan Knight. Lazard hurts you. Cobb hurts you. Billy Turner hurts you. So yeah, no, he's hurt us more so than help us at this point, minus, off-season hype and Hard Knocks, which doesn't mean shit when you actually, lace up the cleats and you go between the white lines and get your dick kicked in. Yeah, it doesn't really do much, I know. So we have to hope that he comes back next year and lights it the fuck up. Now he's gonna be 40 years old, and you have to hope that the Jets can replace 2 or 3 offensive linemen. At the minimum, it's 2, right? At the minimum, it's 2. I can't see both Becton and Tomlinson being here next year. So you have one of those guys minimum, if not both of them. In my preferred world, you get rid of both of those guys, and then your right tackle is undetermined right now because it's not Max Mitchell, it's not Carter Warren. And for the people who, and I don't know if Max Mitchell's hurt at this point, but for the people who said last year, oh, he was good in his starts, he was never good. Lazard calling out the coaching staff and the effort is the pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, that's what I said, beloved piece. Like it's not something that you want to see from anybody, but specifically from Lazard, a motherfucker who can't catch a football, and then takes no accountability for it. Is he's easily becoming one of my most hated Jets. And I thought I would just hate him because he can't catch the ball or run routes. But now that he's kind of like a I don't know, not like passive. I don't know. He's just like a douche. He seems like a douche now at this point. Say, hey, yeah, I suck at catching a football. I should work on that. Hit the jugs instead of kicking a fucking soccer ball around during pregame. Like just knowing the how that looks. Like even if you like to kick a soccer ball, whatever, but knowing that you can't catch shit and you haven't been catching shit, to be warming up in front of 1,000 fans with a soccer ball, you just like the lack of awareness there to know how much of a douche you look like. It's just automatically I'm like, okay, I don't like this fucking guy. Stop. In my opinion, Zach improved on his mechanics. He's top 13 in target percentage. Last year, Zach Wilson was a dumpster fire. I think he sees the field well, but struggles at times. The process may be fixable by scheme. I think that's kind of like not like a double negative, but I don't think seeing the field well, but struggles the process at the same time. The process is they are both hand in hand. And I think his accuracy has been great, whether it be rolling out to the left, rolling out to the right, off the back foot, whatever it is, his accuracy has definitely been largely improved this year. Now, with that being said, again, you're always going to get honesty from me. Has his actual footwork improved? I don't think so. I think that's something that a lot of people hung on to in the offseason, just saying, oh, that Rodgers is going to teach him good mechanics and all this stuff, which, if you actually look at it, Rodgers has decent mechanics, but it's not perfect mechanics by any means. I think Zach Wilson, it was just like a confidence thing. You just had to see the ball get there a few times because I didn't really see much of the footwork change. You still see him fighting his lower body at times, so Joe, you hopping out, you hoping to lose out so we can grab Alt or another tackle. Yeah, at this point you're officially eliminated from the playoffs, right, Chrono? So okay, Christmas Eve and I'm watching the game. No, I'm probably at this point officially eliminated. I'm going to be rooting for the loss. I'm sorry. I know some people they'll get mad at that, whatever. I really couldn't give 2 fucks less because a win against, the absolute balls Washington Commanders does nothing for you long term, realistically. So you want to lose at this point to grab the better player. And there will be people out there and say, oh, you can grab a guy at 18 who's just as good at 5. Okay. Well, if we weren't, could we have said the same thing for Sauce Gardner? Could we have got another corner just as good as Sauce? which by the way, I saw that I think I saw that Tyreek Woolen was benched for the Seahawks, which is just awesome. But yeah, you want to get the higher pick. I'm not falling for the just get the guy late bullshit. You can get a guy 18. Okay. You just get a quarterback in the 6th round like Tom Brady. Why not? Why not? Why don't the Bears just not take, the quarterback, and they could just trade down and get a bunch of picks and take one in the 6th. Like, you'd see how that logic is flawed. But lose, grab Alt, grab, the tackle from Bama, grab, if you like Fashanu, I believe is his name. If you like him more than Alt, then take that guy. Now, the draft rankings are going to change a lot, right? Like, it's only December 22nd. There's so much that changes in February, in April, and even in March. Just naming three months. A lot will change. So one of these guys could really fall off. We've seen it how many times where people are talking about this corner, this receiver, block of a top 10, draft comes around, they're a 4th round pick. So I'm not buying so much into who's up there now, but I think I'm going to watch at least Alt, Fashanu, and the Brigham. Is it Brigham or something like that? MU says feel really bad for Garrett Wilson and Brees, though. Everyone knows how bad the play calling is, especially if Lazard is calling it out. I hope Rodgers can band-aid the proverbial bullet hole there next year. In terms of the play calling, yeah, it's pretty much going to be Aaron Rodgers running your offense. So right now it's 100%, Hackett, and maybe there's a little bit of Downing and Keith Carter, whatever in that game plan. You're pretty much going to take like 90, 80% off the plate of Hackett, because Rodgers is going to come to the line and say, no, fuck this play. This sucks. I'm checking into a run, and then it's good. So next year, I'm not really considering Hackett a part of the solution or a part of the problem. It's kind of Aaron Rodgers' offense, more so. So the Colts and the Browns look just fine with that. They're starting quarterbacks. Yeah, I'm not even asking for like the Jets to win. Like, do I expect the Jets to go into Miami and beat the Dolphins? I thought there was a possibility of it, but I don't know, lose 27-16. Like, give me something, not 0 points. That's not so fun. So Tippmann is a rookie, so at least he has somewhat of an excuse. Yeah, I'm not saying I've been impressed with Tippmann. Tippmann overall has been probably, and it's hard to quantify because of how much I've actually watched the other centers, but Tippmann has been a guy I've been impressed with. I've been impressed with. I think he's going to be a fine starter. Yes, there are some schematic things I want him to maybe recognize a little bit better, or some awareness, or even some of his footwork and stuff. Like, yeah, there's improvements that need to be made, but I'm not trying to. I don't know how to fucking word that. That doesn't mean that I don't like Tippmann. Acknowledging his problems, right? So he can get better. MU says it's probably been asked in prior streams, but what are your thoughts on the coaching situation? Are you okay with running it back? Or from MU, I would like to change it up, but realistically, I haven't put a lot of thought into it because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The only change up there's going to be is Keith Carter, Todd Downing fire. Rodgers came out this week and backed, Douglas, backed Saleh, and backed Hackett. So you're not doing all this shit to get a quarterback and then firing the coaches that he wants to be coaching him. So I think it's less than like a 1% chance that maybe not less than 1% chance. If Saleh gets blown out by the Commanders and his ass beat in New England, then maybe there's a possibility. I just see it as very, very low. Tomlinson or have him as a backup. Yeah, you're not paying a backup $8 million, $9 million, $10 million, whatever it exactly is, Chrono Kenny. So you're going to get rid of him. Beloved P says the entire left side of the line of the offensive line is a disaster. Really, it's the whole thing. The right side too. You have Hansen right now. Okay, sure, but your right tackle is a dumpster fire right now. Hansen has been, again, relative to expectations, he's doing fine, but he's still overall dumpster fire. And your center has been, hit or miss, which is expected for a rookie, but the whole offensive line has been just so bad. And, you hope you can rely on ABT going forward, but obviously doesn't need to be said. He's had 2 out of 3 season-ending injuries. One is a triceps. So you hope that's not something that's going to carry over, but still taking off season during the season. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I knew Hard Knocks was going to be a distraction. Realistically, like Marvin Gunn's like, I don't think it was a distraction. Like what came out that was so distracting about it? It's just Rodgers went down and now we suck. I don't see it as like, oh, I'm blaming Hard Knocks that Rodgers tore his Achilles. Christian A says we need 2 new tackles. Yeah, that is undoubtedly true. Chrono Kenny says Becton has been terrible. However, sprained ankle on a big guy. Can't see another team paying him more than $5 million. So I say we do it on a 1-year prove-it deal and treat him as a backup. which is what they should have done this offseason, right, Chrono? Like we talked about this for how fucking long, that the guy has been injured so much that you can now if he comes out and plays and he plays the entire season, great, but you cannot expect that based on what you have seen in a 3-year sample size for Becton. And they didn't really do shit, minus bringing in an injured 4th-round rookie who I don't give a hell what anybody says about him. Oh, he's pro ready and all that bullshit. He is not pro ready. He was not. So terrible plan. We've talked about that 1,000 times at this point. So, bring Becton back again. What's the price tag? I know last week it was more like 9-10 million max after just stacking bad week after bad week after bad week. 6 mil, 5-6 million, and you see if he can bounce back in some way, and he can make your swing tackle backup for 5 million. Okay, I would be okay with that to give it another shot. But anything past that is just it's too much. The guy is consistently injured. Minus this year, he only came out for a game, but still, obviously has had a checkered past in terms of injuries. And he's sucked this year. He just sucked. Regardless of, and I know people will just blame it on the ankle and stuff like that, and obviously that's a part of it, but part of it's just his technique and his awareness at times. And sometimes it doesn't, like, he'll get beat initially and then he'll like barely run and try to catch up to guys. So I don't know. There's a lack of effort there at times to me too. So Curly Norman says, Jets, Rangers, Knicks fan here. Kill me. Knicks at least had some success in the 90s, right? Like Ewing and all that stuff. The Rangers have 3 cups? Two or three. So yeah, I would say I would rather be a Knicks fan than a Nets fan overall scope of my life. Rangers, yeah, I got you there. Devils are a better franchise, at least since I've been a kid, and the Rangers are killing it this year, but we'll see. We'll see in the playoffs. Devils got to pick up their shit. They're playing at 7, I think, actually, tonight, so I'll be watching that. But I love seeing Zach's mom. I think she looks pretty terrible. Like I can see how she used to be good looking, but I think she's had too much work on her face. She's starting to look like she's a part of that family that like 2 million people are a part of. We all got like sunken in faces, like big ass cheeks and swollen lips. She's starting to look like that. I hate that shit. It's gross. Anything fake. We're not going to get into this really, but like any of that fake shit, fake nails, fake hair, fake tans. Ugh. All natural, baby. I don't like that fake shit. It's just gross. Scott Wilson says, if heads must roll, I'm confident the coaches are safe. Salah has built a top defense. Hackett has Rodgers backing. Can't say the same with JD though. This lost season is on him as much as anyone. Yeah, Scott, for real. Now, obviously, the biggest reason is Rodgers' injury, right? But we've said it 1,000 times, right? We bitch about this stuff since May. I don't need to go over all the issues again, but they all came to fruition. And even the signings, a lot of the signings when he made them the last couple of years, it's been, Whitehead, Tomlinson, Uzama. Again, reiterating the same stuff I've reiterated for the last few weeks. I'm watching. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work out. I would say, I don't know, especially free agency. I would say more than 85% of them I watch. I'm like, he overpaid this guy. Draft, a little bit more hit or miss, but his free agency signings have been abysmal, and it's not revisionist history because I have my opinion when they were initially signed, and it's out there, So, okay, let's see. Brandon R says, are they having a high end veteran with a Rodgers and potentially a draft pick? To find a high end veteran, I don't think high end veteran fits. Is Brissett a high end veteran? Like bring me like Andy Dalton, like seriously. Rodgers, Dalton, and a 5th-round pick at quarterback. I'm okay with that. Something like that. I don't think they're going to like go balls to the wall and spending for Jacoby or Minshew or anything like that because they have holes elsewhere that they need to fill. So I think just having a capable guy back there is okay because you need to spend some money to re-sign Solomon Thomas, re-sign Quentin Jefferson if he gets re-signed. Who's your starting strong safety next year? I pray to God it's not Whitehead. Who's your tackles? So can you afford to splurge on a backup quarterback? No. At the same time, should you completely ignore it like you've ignored it the past few years? No. So Highlander Prime says, ironically, Rodgers, who was supposed to have helped reset Zach over time, ended up getting him booted from the Jets due to him getting injured right off the bat. Yeah. I could see your line of thinking. Like it accelerated him. But it's also the GM's fault for not, getting a suitable backup. Would you be an OC, a DC, or a scout? You're talking about if I had to, like, if I thought what I would be best at, I would say scout. I'm not like, I'm okay. I'm okay with scheme and stuff. Like I'm obviously, I think I'm fine at it, but I'm not the biggest like schematics, X's and O's all the time type of thing. I rather watch players individually than overall schematics. Like, hey, evaluate this corner or evaluate the defensive system. You have the same amount of time, do them both, whatever. I think the scouting of the individual player and his techniques is probably, where I thrive more so than schemes. But yeah, it would be a scheme. Let me be. Hey, I will take a shot at being the Jets pro scout for free agents. Like, just let me evaluate guys from free agency who they're going to sign, because minimum we're not signing Uzama, Tomlinson, Whitehead. At the bare minimum, we're not doing that. So that would help. that would help. But yeah, I would say if I'm more comfortable with individual player evaluation. Anything else? Tank for Trevor, not tank with Trevor. They might lose that division, right? They've been struggling a little bit. Trevor, like, and I said this prior to him coming out, again, not revisionist history because it's out there. I said I thought he was the number one quarterback. I did not think he was generational. And with the Jaguars, they're like, I watched some of their game last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. He was missing like layup throws. So Trevor coming from Clemson, a lot of it was horizontal, a lot of it was behind the line scrimmage. I didn't really see a lot of like pro level concepts that I was at least comfortable enough saying that, hey, he's a bona fide stud in the NFL, generational prospect. I didn't see that. And with that being said, people use generational way too often. I'm sure Joe Alt is going to be a generational prospect in a couple of months. You have to be truly generational, like once every 10 years, once every 20 years. You can't just say the best guy every year is generational. It obviously, boy who cried wolf. It doesn't really. It loses its luster. Highlander Prime says, honestly, I don't think any QB would have been very successful as O-line and Hackett, not to mention the depleted true wide receiver room with only one threat. Yeah, no, for sure. Now, would we be more successful? Yeah. Listen, if the Jets have Rodgers right now, the entire season, you win the Falcons game, you win the Raiders game, you probably win the Chargers game. I know we got blown out in that, but a lot of them were like right off the turnovers. So you win at least, and the New England games too. So you probably have at least 3 or 4 more wins, right? So you're looking at 5-9 now. Let's just say 3. You're 8-6 right now with Rodgers at the minimum, in my opinion. So there are some flaws with this team. I don't think it would be a Super Bowl team with Rodgers. I think it's probably a lower tier playoff team. But this year has just exemplified your problems. Maybe JD will realize now, hey, we can't just throw a fucking Band-Aid at offensive line or a 4th round rookie to solve that problem. No, you got to spend big. Now, who is it? Is it Jonah Williams, whoever out there? I don't know. I think one's a lock to be a tackle in the first round of the draft. Who was the other guy? Is it Jonah? Is it Becton? Is it Becton plus another vet? Is it Becton and George Fant again? I don't freaking know, but they got to do something because this has exemplified the problems. Commuting, can't really hear. I should be fine on volume. Tell me if you guys do the rest of you can you not hear me? I don't know. Everything seems fine on my end. So.
What the hell is even that?
Beloved Pieces, I think Zach is a guy who could hold the fort when your starting QB misses a game or two. As for him being a long-term starter, I think that ship has sailed. Yeah, you never know. But yeah, I think he's like a capable backup at this point. A capable backup who needs a change of scenery. We all need a football vacation like Kyle. Chrono Kenny says it's not a solid system. We have 2 systems with LaFleur and Hackett. Zach has sucked, and both solid is a problem because he has no offensive acumen. Clearly, that you'd like to see him. I'm not one of those guys like rah on the bench type shit, but at least like talk to your guys on the sideline. You had Garrett Wilson not arguing, talking to Rodgers, talking at Rodgers, and Salah just sitting there with a blank face, like not getting involved in the conversation. He consistently steps on his own dick in the media. So yeah, Salah has not handled all of this well either. Salah has been disappointing. So I'm gonna keep going down with Zach Wilson. In my opinion, the development team has been brutal. Went from unrosterable to backup in one offseason when they tried to reset, which is why jury's out for me on that. Far from a guarantee though, 100%. Yeah. And I said that last week too, MU, and you said you didn't listen, but it's almost like a thing where he was taken out of the oven, too quickly. If he had more time to bake in there, finished product. That's I'm not going to try to get too fancy with that one. But imagine being a GM and thinking Alan Lazard was worth $11 million per year. Yeah, and I've said that before. I think it's a little bit more of like a Rodgers tax, and I think a receiver 3 is like $11 million. So I get that signing more so than the Tomlinsons and the Whiteheads and the and Cooks of the world, but still, not a good contract. But I looked at that as a Rodgers tax, so. Why does it seem like JD can't find a good offensive lineman outside the early rounds? Because he can't. Because it's not a seam thing. Who has he found outside the early rounds? I think that's something that also Nania has exemplified, or not exemplified, but has said this week is like, listen, at a certain point, the top guys are good, but where are the late round hits on some of these offensive linemen? Drafted Becton. He's a bust so far. And he's been asked this season. You saw the stats with Dillard this week. Dillard's another Joe Douglas pick. He's sucked too. So it's guys who are both, I mean, his first round picks, his second round picks haven't even been that good offensive line. Warren so far has obviously not impressed. When Mitchell's out there, he's getting dominated. Now is a part of that the fact that he's playing fucking right guard. We should never play right guard or guard, in my opinion, ever. Yeah, I'm sure that's part of the case, but still, it's been bad. You need to find a guy in the fifth round, fourth round who's at least like a decent swing tackle, something. But we can't rely on that this year because we need to make premium investments in the offensive line. So Highlander Prime says the footwork is often overstated because both Mahomes and Rodgers' footworks are. Hold on.
What the hell is even that?
Is it condoned? I don't know if I've ever seen the word condoned spelled out. If that's how you spell it, then by all means, I'll take back my soundbite. But I don't know if I've ever seen the word condoned spelled out. Footworks are condoned because they've been successful at the position. Yeah, you don't need to have perfect footwork, really. And it'll hurt you maybe 1 out of 10 times if you're confident in your arms like that. But Rodgers doesn't have great footwork. He doesn't. Phillip Rivers had terrible mechanics. Mahomes doesn't have great mechanics all the time. Look at some of the I don't know, at professional basketball players. I always go back to the shot I always think of, like the worst shot I've ever seen was Sean Marion. Sean Marion shot threes and he had the worst launch I've ever seen in my life, but it still goes in, I don't know. Sneak diss. Okay. Chrono Kenny. Joe, do you like Alt or Fashano more? Chrono Kenny, I will always be honest with you. I don't know because I haven't watched them. And that's not some bullshit watching them 5-minute highlight tapes because I've done that a little bit just to get a feel for them. But I don't know. I will know soon because I'm getting the film very soon and I'm off for a month. So I'll be watching a lot of tackle film. I'm going to do Alt, Fashanu, Alabama tackle in a row. And then maybe I'll do, I don't know, some other stuff. We'll see. Those three guys I definitely want. Can Trevor Siemian and Nathaniel Hackenberg get Garrett Wilson to 1K yards? Well, what is he at now, Scott? You guys are probably going to say in the chat, but I'm not caught up. He's at like 800 and something, right? Garrett Wilson stats. He's at 882. He needs 120. He needs 40 yards a game. Yeah, he'll get it. Hope he gets at least 1100. That's the things we got to root for now. Sauce to get some picks, Q to get some sacks. Root for the guys who are going to be here next year making an impact. So yeah, I would like to see Garrett get a 1,000 yards at the minimum. Joe Douglas has been working on the O-line since Sam Darnold. Yeah, and it's funny too that the Jets say like, oh, we came in here replacement level roster, all that bullshit. And I know obviously we're more talented than when they first came here, but Joe Douglas has had 4 or 5 years to fix this offensive line, and it's pretty much just as bad as when he got here. There's more talent on it, but it's not been good. It's definitely not been good. We've been working on the offensive line since 2012, really. Like it's never been good since then. Once all those like vets left and stuff, the offensive line has been balls. Right? Breno Giacomini's, Wesley Johnson's. There's been so much bad. There's been so much bad. Super chat from RJ MacPot says, love your content and happy holidays. Do you see JD getting desperate and mortgaging future draft capital for more dart throws this draft on offense? He's basically on a playoff win 2024 or gone mode. And it depends on what Rodgers thinks in 2025 if he is here. And he did say that on Pat McAfee that he would want to potentially, he doesn't think it's only going to be 1 year and it's probably 2. We'll see. A lot of things can go wrong next year for him to say, no, this is a terrible organization. I'm out of here. I'm going to retire and not ruin my legacy. That's always very possible. And that's probably more probable than not, just because we're Jets fans. So we should anticipate the worst in Rodgers leaving after 1 year, after saying he's going to stay for 2. But in terms of him mortgaging in the future, yeah, he probably gets a little bit desperate or more desperate than he would have been if he was, sitting comfy. Now, with that being said, do I think he should mortgage draft? Do I think he should mortgage future draft picks for dart throws? No. Do I think he should mortgage future draft capital or this capital this year for proven veterans? Fuck yes. Go balls to the wall. Let's make this fun. There's plenty of guys you see traded for a 5th, a 6th round pick, a 7th round pick. We saw Brandon Marshall, on the Jets a few years ago, 2015, a 5th round pick. Trade some 5th, 6th round picks for some guys who are going to make an impact. Offensive linemen, safety, defensive tackles, whatever it may be. So I agree with you in terms of him getting desperate, or at least I think he'll get a little bit desperate and mortgage some draft picks, but I hope it's for proven commodities, not darts. Not darts. But RJ Mack, I definitely appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate that you said you love the content. Happy holidays to you as well. Which everybody just erase the Jets from your memory this week. Enjoy Christmas Eve. There's some football on. You got games tomorrow. You have games Sunday. You have games Saturday. Games on Monday. Tomorrow actually, which you guys are not asking, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. I have like my wife's aunt's boyfriend has like some connections with the Devils, so we're getting a party bus and a suite for the Devils game on Saturday, or tomorrow night, which is awesome. So I'm going to completely erase the Jets from my memory the next couple of days and just pretend like they don't exist. But I advise you to do the same. Okay, let's see. I want Joe Walt. Okay, I'm back there. Draft Jaden Daniels or sign T. Higgins, wide receiver, 25 years old, and then sign. Okay. Is Jaden Daniels, is that a receiver? T. Higgins, probably a little bit over investment into the receiver position because they have $11 million player, at 4th string. Sign and draft O-line, no stop. Tight end with rack ability. It's again with the tight end thing too. Are you going to have a tight end 3 with yak ability over a starting tackle? Like it's all about how you distribute your resources. And I don't think tight end 3 is going to tickle my fancy. But MU says by process and vision for Zach Wilson. In my opinion, it's a chicken or egg thing. I think he sees the field well, but either lack of confidence or coaching, he's way too past the time, which looks awful. Chicken or the egg thing. I am of the thinking, and I will not be convinced otherwise, that the egg came first. I guess there's a possibility, but a chicken is always hatched out of an egg. So unless like 2 animals made a chicken, and then because it was pure chicken with more generations of chicken, now they make an egg. But I'm more of the line of thinking that 2 animals not of the same species banged, and then they made a chicken, and it was still an egg. I think it's an egg. I think I would bet a lot of money the egg came first, but that's just me. With solid QB play, the Jets are still in the playoffs as a 5th or 7th. I would say more elite quarterback play, honestly, Eagle Fang. I don't think average quarterback play. Well, okay. Average quarterback play, do we beat the Falcons? Yes. Average quarterback play, do we beat the Patriots? Yes. Average quarterback play, do we beat the Raiders? Yes. So you're probably right, actually. We're probably at the minimum 8-6 with okay quarterback play. Now, obviously, there's much more problems than just a quarterback, right? So keep going. Tittman playing within range of expectation for year 1. Yeah, honestly, Brennan, if not exceeding a little bit, I'm never going to be the guy to expect a rookie center to come in and be like just okay. And I think he's been an okay starter, for a 1st-round rookie with all the bullshit that's going on around him. I'm fine with that. Chrono Kenny says, Joe, in your opinion, what are the chances we fire Carter and Downing? Then what are the chances we fire Hackett plus those 2? Hackett plus those 2, I think it's near 0%. I really do, because of Rodgers, right? Obvious reasons. For those guys, now, are you saying both or one of them? Obviously, if it's both, it's going to lessen the chance, but at least one of those guys is fired. I think it's 90% shot. Somebody has to be a scapegoat, and the offensive line has been abysmal. Not only just an individual talent, but schematically, everything has been terrible. Just terrible. Jay, so we're really relying on a 41-year-old quarterback with no O-line or receiver except Garrett Wilson. This year we would have been, which is just, again, you see how silly of a mistake that is. In a all-out year, your receiver 2 is Lazard. There's no excuse for that, and there never will be. But you're hoping that maybe, blessing in disguise, the Jets see this now but that would be you pouring stock into the fact that they're competent, which may not be. So I don't know. Joe says great draft to trade down and add picks. They need a wide receiver 2, 3 linemen and development to quarterback, D tackle, and safety. Yeah, wide receiver 2, 2 or 3 linemen for sure. Developmental quarterback, do they need that? I would say no. Would I like that? Yes. I'm not going to say you need though. D tackle, yes, depending on free agency. Safety, definitely. I would also I blanked out on the position. I would also like to potentially add a running back in the draft as well. It's something that we haven't really spoke about a lot. I think I mentioned it last week, but next year you have Breece Hall, Izzy, and that's it. So do you sign a guy for $3-4 million in free agency? Kareem Hunt, something potentially. I think that's a need too. I don't think you want to go into the year with Izzy as your running back too. No Skills super chat, appreciate you. Beating a dead horse, but glad you agree about the Chubb hit. Did you see Dak Prescott taking a similar hit in that same evening, and the TV crew was talking ejections? That and like Zach Wilson last week. I don't know what play it was, but gets rid of the ball, and there's a Texans defender coming off of his right side. The Texans defender dives and hits him below the knee, or maybe like initial contact knee, but then like he slips below the knee, and there was no penalty there. So yeah, no, it's a penalty. Based on the letter of the law and based on how they called it for other guys, it's a penalty, but it's Zach Wilson, so they have their biases. They go to quarterbacks. It's undoubtable that they have their biases. I did not see Dak though. Dak, they played at nighttime. I don't know when they played. I was at their wedding though. Which really quick story. Again, nobody cares about your fantasy team, but after all the whatever happened that week, Jalen Hurts being sick and then me benching him for Dak because he was sick and I didn't know if he was going to play, lost me one of my leagues, which is really frustrating. So, just a little side story there, but I didn't see that, but we should definitely get more calls than we do. That's for sure. And I appreciate the super chat no skills, which reminds me, I brought those candies to work. My, one of the guys at work actually liked him. He chewed at first. He kind of gave me some weird faces, and he's like, "It's definitely very aggressive," but he's like, "I like black licorice." So I found somebody who likes it, guy at my work, but there's like 2 other people who tried it and spit it out. So ABT was a part of the tackle backup plan. Okay, and we see why you should have more than that right now, because then what's your backup guard plan? Your backup guard plan is okay. Hey, ABT is going to kick out the tackle, and then Wes Schweitzer is our guard. Like it's just not enough. Even if that was part of their plan, it's not enough because it's not enough now. Jets, Mets, Nets. Yeah, same. I don't know if you're shitting on me with that, but yeah, I'm a Jets, Mets, Nets, Devils fan. Hated Nets since NJ, like them leaving. Yeah, pissed me off too. But and I don't go to Brooklyn for games because getting to Brooklyn sucks. But yeah, Joe, it's not plastic surgery that ruined Zach's mom. It's the trauma that Zach Wilson suffered here and under Saleh JD's regime. And the majority of it is it the thing like presidents get they age 1 year in presidency ages you like 4, whatever the saying is. Same thing for Saleh. I saw that picture side by side. Same thing for Zach Wilson's mom. I could see that. Do you think Douglas will stay for next year? Yeah, he will be because Rodgers supports him. Can we keep Huff? Can we keep Huff and still improve O-line and receiver unit? Yeah, Kev, I don't know exactly how much they can create, but there's somewhere between like $40 and $60 million they can create with running around Mosley, Tomlinson, Uzama, whoever else it may be. So yeah, they have plenty of room to improve both of those units, but I'm hoping they don't blow their load on one guy. Mainly Devontae. And listen, I'll be excited for Devontae, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, 31 years old, getting older, and you have to trade picks and obviously he eats up a bunch of your cap where you can just sign a free agent. Now, who was that? Is Evans tagged? Is Higgins tagged? Is Pittman tagged? We don't necessarily know, but I'd rather sign the Pittmans, the T Higgins, the Evans, who are not going to cost you the pick, and eat up all of that cap. But yeah, they have enough money. They have enough money to get it done this offseason. Sign a decent starting tackle, sign your safety, retool your defensive line in terms of your depth defensive tackles. They have the money to do it. Extend Huff long term, but part of that may come with, extending Huff. Do they keep? What's his face? Do they keep JFM? Potentially not. $14-15 million. I get that we want to have JFM. We want to have Huff. We want to have all of these guys, but would you rather have? I don't know. Would you rather have Huff, JJ, Huff JJ and all those guys on defensive line without JFM and Jonah Williams, or all the guys on your defensive line and some scrub tackle who might not be better than what we have now. Like at a certain point, you have to look at your team and say, okay, we have a lot of resources in the defensive line right now, but the offensive line is dog water. So let's address that. So you may see a guy like JFM either take a pay cut or get traded or something like that to extend Huff. But do I see it being a little bit difficult to keep Huff, JFM, and then do everything else we want to do with $40-50 million ish? Yeah, because Huff's going to take about 20 of that, So then you have, okay, let's say it was $40 million. Now you have $20 million to sign. Let's even give him more than that. Let's give him $30 million after Huff signing. Defensive tackles for depth. You need defensive tackles for depth. You need a starting safety. You obviously may need a left guard as well. So it might not be realistic to get Huff back and not touch the rest of the defensive line. I don't know. Alan Lazy Art is worth $5 max. Yeah, it's been pretty bad. Generational YouTuber. That is not true at all. Hence, I'm not at 10K yet, which I've been pushing for 10K. I logged on today and I saw I was at like 8,970 or whatever it was, and then it dropped to 60. So we actually lost a subscriber. But yeah, I would love to get to 10,000. I've been chilling at like 8.6 to 8.8, 8.9 for forever now. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Just a slow build. Slow build of diehards, hopefully. Joe says, do free agent breakdown wide receiver, O-line, D tackle, and safety between the eight. So yes, sure, I could do that. But then let's say I start cooking up T. Higgins tonight, right? I put in 12 hours of T. Higgins the next 3 days to get the review all prepped and ready. Then he gets tagged, and I'm sitting there like an asshole. So for free agents, I typically wait because you have no idea what's going to happen. And I don't want to pour hours into reviewing a guy and then him get either signed elsewhere, tagged, whatever. So a lot of those reviews will come after the Jets sign them because, again, obviously waste of time. So Brandon Schaub of the NFL. Is Brandon Schaub who's like somebody who's like carried by Rogan? Is that like a known thing? I don't know. The volume is good. Yeah, okay. I don't know what went on before. Sound fine. Okay, thanks. Larry Turkin. I appreciate all you guys with the support. You're fine. So it's just you, Kev Chada, as I pause for the awkward sip. It's good coffee. Grind my own beans. I don't know if that makes a difference. You sound fine. Okay, yeah. Let's keep moving on. Are you worried JD will mortgage our future to go all in next year because his job depends on a playoff appearance? This was kind of similar to a question that was asked before. I think there's a chance that he does mortgage some of the future, and I think he probably should because he's going all out. Do I think he'll mortgage all of it? No, because at the same point, you have to, and maybe, and this kind of sounds odd, so excuse me for this, but you have to plan for success too. Like, what if he blows his load all this year? They do well. They don't do well enough to get to the Super Bowl. Let's say they, hopefully they win a Super Bowl. Let's say they get eliminated in the AFC Championship game. You blew your load on this year. Rodgers says he's coming back, and then you have nothing to operate with in 2025. That looks just as bad, right? So he has to be mindful that if it works out, he will be here for longer. So I don't think he'll screw Joe Douglas in the future or his future self. But I think there will be some more assets and some more signs of like him being desperate than in years past, overpaying a guy $1 million or $2 million or trading a pick, yeah, I can see that. So, if only Saleh ran this team as well as he runs the stairs between, yeah. And people like hate that, the whole stair thing. I don't think it's a problem. It's not a problem, right? Like people are trying to make a problem of anything. At the end of the day, these are a bunch of stud athletes, and you have a guy like Andy Reid, proven whatever. But looking at guys who work out 3-4, maybe not 3 or 4 hours a day, but they work out every single day, hours a day, whatever. If you're having a guy who's talking to you about effort and all this stuff, and he's fat, it's kind of harder. It's hard to absorb it. Now, if he sucks, regardless, it's hard to absorb it. But being in shape helps you speak about physical fitness, right? Like you're not going to take advice from some. Well, Actually, people do. I'm not even into that, but a bunch of fat ass doctors who are telling people how to be healthy. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was getting into that. Butterfingers Lazard. Junior says, I believe they were not ready for a ride. Just they couldn't use another year.
What the hell is even that?
I'll try again. I believe they just were not ready for a ride. Just they couldn't use another year of drafting and developing. Oh, okay. Let's say Junior. And if Rodgers played by now, he'd have been dead by now. Yeah, sure. He would take hits now. Not inevitably, but unquestionably, there are incidences that he would have not gotten hit or changed of protection or got the ball out quickly because he could throw to the hot, whatever it may be. He would get hit less for sure, but it wouldn't be good. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna skip some of this shit. Some of them just don't make sense. What's up, June Smith? Appreciate you being in here. He's 114 yards away, I believe. Yeah, like what did I say, 886, so 40 yards a game, something like that, a little bit less. He could do it. 189 yards, yeah. No, 189. No, wasn't he? No, he's like 114. He's like 880. So he's 120 yards, Dakota, or like 114, like Curly says. So Garrett will get to. You mean you're rooting for Dalvin Cook? I don't know where this. I don't know what did I say? What did I say 20 minutes ago about Dalvin Cook? I'm not rooting for anybody. When I think I was talking about the wife thing. When he gets the ball, I'm rooting for him to take it for a touchdown. But it's so crazy that people the amount of vitriol and like hate that people, specifically like Nania got, or I got, or Kyle got for being nerds, or the film, who cares what the film says? He's 1,000-yard back every year. He's gonna be so great. A lot of those people are eating crow, or maybe they're not because they'll completely avoid it. But that was one of the worst signings I've ever seen. It was so blatantly obvious. That if you watch the film, he was going to be bad. There was really no question about it. It was blatantly obvious right there in front of you. So, in my opinion, people who really, really backed that and just said, hey, we really want this guy. How much should you value their opinion? I don't know. That's up to you. But they either one, don't watch, or two, don't know what they're talking about, or they don't watch, or they watch and they just are terrible evaluators. So either way, take that for what it's worth. I don't know. Okay. From Matthias, Joe, don't you think you could get some good offensive linemen in the third, fourth rounds and tweak it with free agency? The problem is the draft comes after free agency. So let's say you do like player X in round 3, he goes late round 2, and now you're going to rely on the scraps of free agency in a Super Bowl or bust type of year? No. Like, just for that reason, you can't bank on scrap heap offensive linemen and a GM who has a not a pretty track record of drafting offensive linemen in the third, fourth, fifth round. You're going to rely on that to protect Aaron Rodgers. Fuck that. Dalvin Cook. Garrett Wilson's stat line with Mahomes. Oh God, Joe, he's pushing 1,500 yards. He's pushing that for sure. Alex Lewis, Greg Van Roten, Cam Clark, Connor McGovern, Laken Tomlinson. Now, with that being said, the only one I'll disagree with you here, actually two I'll disagree with you on this one. Connor McGovern that was not a bad signing. It was not a bad signing this year either. He was actually okay. I think people for whatever reason, Jets, I don't know what a lot of Jets fans saw with Connor McGovern initially, but right from the jump, people hated him more than they should. He was okay for the Jets considering the price. And Cam Clark was actually one of the guys I really, really liked in that draft. I actually really liked his film and what he was going to offer to the Jets. Mauler type of player. And unfortunately, he hurt his neck. Like, you can't blame Douglas because his draft pick hurt his neck. It's impossible to know. McGovern, I won't agree with you there. Alex Lewis, yes. Greg Van Roten, yes. Laken Tomlinson, yes. Billy Turner, yes. Max Mitchell, didn't love that pick. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel for however, since the draft, I said that Carter Warren was my least favorite of the picks. I didn't like his film at all. So yeah, no, there's been some problems. I will not kill him for Clark, Lewis, and even McGovern or sorry, Won't kill him for McGovern or Clark. And even Lewis was what, $2-3 million and went haywire. There are better, just transparency. There are better examples. Not Cam Clark. Brees can't do anything. That's how terrifying. Yeah. And Brees does have a tendency, and I said this in his rookie year, and Salo said it, and I'm sure Brees recognizes it too. He's more of a home run threat type of guy. Get 2 yards, get 2 yards, get 2 yards, get 25 yards, than the consistent like 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards guy. So the offensive line is only going to exemplify his problems, because he's not a guy who's going to grind it out for every yard and just try to pick up 2-3 yards in a cloud of dust. He's gonna see a cloud of dust and say, I hope if I can bounce this outside, break a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, I'll make it 10 yards instead of 3. And then sometimes he's contacted behind the line of scrimmage, doesn't get that, obviously 10 yards. So the offensive line exemplifies it. It exemplifies not exemplifies. It's definitely not conducive to his running style specifically. Now, obviously, bad offensive line is not conducive to any running style, but specifically a more of a boomer bust type of runner, it's really not good. Highlander Prime says, do you think JD overcommitted to the defense? To me, it was clear that the team needed another top-tier receiver to help Garrett Wilson. JSN should have been the pick over McDonald, or at least an offensive lineman. Yeah, what offensive lineman are you grabbing there? A lot of those guys were valued as like second-round picks at the time the Jets were there. What I personally was, at that time, pick 14 comes, 15 were on the board. Was I rooting for JSN, Zay Flowers, one of those guys? Yes, I was. I wanted a receiver as well. But also, with that being said, I'm not going to say that like it needed to be in the draft, right? Like there was ample time for him to trade for a guy, sign a guy, do whatever. Like it's not like Corey Davis retired a day before the season. He retired like a month before the season, or maybe even 2. So not ideal, but it's not like he didn't have time to pivot. And the draft came first, right? So, right, unless I'm crazy, the draft came first. So. Was drafting JSN, if Corey Davis was here, the best idea? JSN being your 4th receiver. I think it's a little bit revisionist because then Davis retired post-draft. I blame him more for the lack of moves after Davis retired, but he didn't know that was going to happen in April. So at the time of the draft, you had a decent receiving core. Like it was at least okay. I still wanted more, but Corey Davis as your 2, Lazard as your 3 with Rodgers. Okay, I could see that working. Now Rodgers goes down and even not down, but Davis retires. Lazard is your 2, and then whoever at 3, McCole Hardman at the time, absolutely not. So they're JD's lack of like pivoting after Davis retirement is a joke too. It really is. I'm just not going to say it's about like the draft, just the draft. Also, Miami's defense was roughing Zach all game. No calls, of course. Let's see. Worth point out, the Jets can pump out random name-generated players on defense, yet there's not a single guy on offense who has been progressed. Even our 2 best players seem to regress. That's fireable, in my opinion. Brees, Garrett, I get the Brees regression because of how bad the offensive line was. When it was healthier, he was running better. I don't think he's necessarily regressed. I'm trying to think of somebody who's I guess you could technically say Xavier Gibson, UDFA, to getting some reps is a progression. I guess Ruckert, I think it's debatable, but progression, he's at least showing up, and we all think he's a capable tight end too, which, is it always a lock that you're going to have a tight end to it at round 4? No. So like I'm kind of reaching a little bit, but yeah, there hasn't been much progression. That's for sure. Yeah, there's been very little development. Okay, going down. Build your team from the inside out, please. No more stupid moves. Yeah, I'm concerned about free agency. That's the thing I'm concerned about. Because his track record has been brutal. It's been brutal. Sergeant Mike, the reason teams don't pass for 300 yards against us is because most games they have this 2-score leaders. Yeah. If we ever had a lead, then opponent would put their wide receiver away from Sauce and break 300 easy. That's obviously a little bit dramatic, right? Because you have Michael Carter II, who's a top 5 to 10 slot corner. You have DJ Reed, who's a good corner. Which, by the way, last week I remember saying to you guys, he got burned. He got burned versus the Texans, and he got lucky. This game, he got burned again and got beat for a touchdown. And I know somebody is going to say, well, Ulbrich said that he was supposed to have safety help. I break it down in the video. Even if he had safety help there in quarters coverage, it didn't make sense how he played it. Even if he did have safety help, if he did have safety help, it was to the inside on a post on a dig, because there was no two threat. So if there's no two threat, like a basic quarters, that the safety is then going to lock to the one, so he can passively play it more outside and high. Because if he breaks inside, it's the inside safety's job. The way he played it doesn't matter if Tony Adams was going to be playing it inside, because he got beat to the outside and vertical. So I'm not buying Ulbricht's bullshit excuse. With that being said, do I think you just move them away from Sauce and get 300 yards? No, I obviously I think you're being a little bit dramatic there. Now, with that being said, in terms of like talking shit about the defense, the thing I am concerned about in the future is the run defense. The run defense has not been good. It's not been good. Singletary got a few good plays versus us. Obviously, this game we got beat up in the run game. We've been beat up in the run game all year, really. So they need to figure that out. Al Woods would have helped and things like that. But I think this defense is still great. It's just I think they may be a little bit overrated because of their run defense struggles, or a little bit light in the pants there. So I still think they're a top 5-10 unit. It's just for the people who say like, oh, they're the best, the second best, the third best. If the run defense was better, I would maybe agree with that. But I don't know. Is Zach the chicken or Hackett's play calling? Are you talking about like which is the worst in terms of? I think it's if I had to place blame like where first, it's probably the offensive line 1, Hackett 2, Zach 3. That's how I feel. It's the offensive line and guys just not getting open that are the biggest problem. Michael J. Russo says, instead of 2 or 3 mid-level free agents, can we sign 1 big free agent instead? I'm not really in line with that thinking. I rather have average players at a bunch of positions than have great players at some and then terrible guys at others, because let's say you do splurge. Let's say your big free agent is Devontae Adams. Okay, great. Devontae Adams is out there getting open, but Rodgers has no time to get him the ball. So I rather have average receiver, average tackle than stud receiver, bad tackle. So I'm not in that line of thinking at all. I much rather address the needs. I don't think you need a bunch of studs. We have the studs. Like you could, if you fill in the rest of this roster, like, yeah, you might want to, obviously we all want another superstar, but if I told you, regardless of everything else on the team, hey, this team won the Super Bowl and their top guys are Q, Sauce, Garrett, Brees, you'd be like, okay, like they have 4, 5, 6 bona fide, like blue chip players. The Jets have that. So I don't think you need to just go blue chip hunting. I think you need to fill out the rest of your roster. Beloved P says, not only has JD been unable to find offensive linemen in later rounds, he has been unable to find contributors on offense as a whole in the later rounds. It's one of the reasons we're so bad on offense. Yeah, there's really been nobody in the later rounds minus Ruckert, right? Ruckert is the only guy I can think of. Izzy hasn't done much at this point. Obviously, he doesn't have really much of an opportunity to. Kuntz, yeah, there's been not much of anything.
What the hell is even that?
Junior, I appreciate you being in here. You just gotta, I don't know if it's like a voice to text thing or you're just typing too fast, but you gotta make it, I gotta be able to read it. I want a whole NY Jets house. I'd never move. I'm okay with an NY Jets room. This is the Jets room. That's about all they're getting. They don't deserve a whole house. Marvin Gunn says, I'm not for indiscriminately firing the head coach, GM, or OC. They need to diagnose exactly where the problem lied and then act upon that. I think that's, it's kind of like, I don't think there's not one problem. It's not just one guy. So you're going to fire the offensive line, fire the quarterback, and fire the OC. It's a collective problem. Okay. Can you imagine JD not trading up for AVT and instead picking Christian Darrisaw and Creed Humphreys like I wanted? Shake my head. Yeah, that would have been better. I'm not going to criticize the AVT pick because AVT is a stud in my opinion. It's just injuries, which you can't be foreseen. But revision, like if you can go back, and if that's your actual opinion, Kev Trotta, then obviously hell of a job to you. If you said I'd rather just take Darrisaw and Humphreys, but I'm not going to count him for that trade up. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, or Joe Alt. The Jets are not going to be high enough for Harrison Jr. And free agency is kind of strong at receiver at this point. So are you going to double down on receiver when you need a bunch of other stuff? I don't think so. Bring in Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, or T. Higgins for both Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. Yeah, for sure. But if you bring in one of those guys, you're undoubtedly not bringing in Junior. I believe is Neighbors the other receiver, right? Like you're not going to bring in Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors more realistically and Mike Evans, because then a lot of your cap's gonna be eaten up and you still have a lot of holes. So need another tight end. From Dakota, I think we need a tight end 3. We don't need a tight end 1 or 2, in my opinion. We're good enough there. Play Izzy on Sunday finally. He played last week, right? Like 4 rushes, 8 yards, 2 yards per pop. Doesn't really matter. Jim Page says, I think I've seen that Jets car, actually. I might have seen you at a game, Jim. It's like rolling by. I don't know if you ever like drive by Jay or maybe in the park or whatever, but I think I've seen that. Obviously, there's a few cars like that, but are the rumors now? Obviously, I don't have any insider knowledge here, but do I think the Jets are going to change their uniforms? Yes. I know Ryan has mentioned before. Ryan from Jets Talk, one of my buddies, he said, I think he said on stream with me, like they've, or maybe on Twitter, maybe somebody said, I don't know, but they said their jerseys said something when they came out, like, something about the future. I don't know what it said about the future, but something about the future. I think the Jets have had a lot of losing in these uniforms. The fans are not the warmest to them. So I think their jerseys next year are the legacy jerseys. So you have the white, you have the green, and then do they figure out a way to make a alternate black throwback jersey? I think they might not, but I would like if they do. I like the black alternate. I get it's not like classic Jets green or anything like that, but if they can make that, or even like an alternate like gray, like a type of like, because Jets are gray with the green, like I would like that as well. But yeah, I think they're going back to the old uniforms. These uniforms, they're not great. They're not great. I like the old blacks. The black on white or the white on black is awful in my opinion. The white on green is gross. I really like the Jets Reebok jerseys pre-Nike change. When they went to Nike from Reebok, the green changed and it became more dull, where the green with Reebok popped a little bit more. So jersey talk. There's some people who don't care about jerseys. A lot of people who don't care about jerseys did not play sports. I'll stand fast in that. They did not play sports, like organized sports, because there are not a lot of people who like played football in high school, college, whatever, or even like peewee, basketball, whatever, who don't like uniforms. Like I always, now it doesn't matter at the end of the day. No, it doesn't matter. They need to win, but doing it while looking nice is better. It doesn't matter much at this point, but does Roger Saffold actually exist? Yeah. This is kind of talk about last week, MU. The Jets have the only type of systems, whether it be quarterback, cornerback, safety, offensive line, tight end, receiver, where they bring in veterans and it takes them 4 or 5 weeks to learn it. You're playing a undrafted, whoever the fuck he is, Jake Hansen, when Saffold may be just as bad, but I like to at least give him a shot there because he's a vet in the league. Now, there's a possibility that in practice they see this guy playing and they're like, no, fuck that. Like he's really, really that bad. Yeah, I would like to see him. Right? Bring in everyone. Good to elite only. Yeah, that's what we'll put at the door. Are you sure you're elite? You're signing this contract? Are you sure? Nah, pathetic. Salah won't play Izzy final game because he's going to still use which transparently kept shot. Dude, he had one block that was brutal. He basically blocked Turner from blocking the edge. He just had no idea what he was doing. With that being said, would I rather see him fuck up and learn on the job than Dalvin Cook to give absolutely no effort? Yeah, because Dalvin Cook doesn't give effort as a blocker. Dalvin Cook could actually be a decent blocker if he gave a fuck. The problem is he doesn't give a fuck. Couldn't hear before because on the bus. Oh, you need to get some AirPods, Couchata. Get some Beats, get some AirPods, get the connected pods. I don't know, but why are you listening from your phone speakers? Joe Grana says, what third round position would you prefer selected that possibly could be a starter along with our first round? Oh, you're talking about like who in the third could be a long-term starter for the Jets? Well, okay, you're hoping they addressed tackle at this point, right? We're not relying on tackles. We're not relying on receivers. We have a tight end. Safety? I could see a safety. I could see a safety or a D tackle there. And people I'm actually erase that. I'm not no D tackle talk. But safety, running back, realistically, defensive tackle, I could see there who could be a long-term starter, because the Jets don't really have somebody opposite of Q. They don't have a starting safety right now, and I'm hoping that's addressed in free agency, or with Chuck Clark. But I could see a guy getting drafted there. I'm just now, could it be a receiver or tackle or guard? Sure. I'm just hoping those positions are addressed. So I would imagine like a running back, D tackle, safety in that round. Or hey, load up an offensive lineman. Get me a center, get me a guard, get me a tackle, get me another tackle, get me another guard, get me another tackle. I don't care. Two blue load references in one sentence. Nice. Yeah, maybe I should broaden my horizons. Neil says, love the show. Not always able to watch it live. Keep up the great work, Joe. Thoughts on what you'd prefer the Jets to do their first round pick? Tackle. The best one, tackle. That's it. Now, hopefully, I'm praying to God that I watch these guys and they're all good, because hopefully not one of you guys, but there have been guys in the past who I have not liked at all who were supposed to be bona fide studs. Evan Neal, most notably. So do I watch one of these guys and I say this is an Evan Neal 2.0? Hopefully not. I hope they're all studs so JD can't fuck up the pick, but we'll see. We'll see. Might make Evans an offer he can't refuse. The problem is, okay, he's in Tampa. His kids are in Tampa. They're going to school in Tampa. He's already older there. He's already won a Super Bowl there. Does he want to go anywhere else? Does he want to go somewhere with a lot more taxes? I don't know. Does he want to hike up and leave at this point? What does he need it for? If they're going to offer him, and now unless he has the burning desire to potentially win a Super Bowl, then maybe. But he's kind of comfy. He's got money. He's got his family there. Warm weather. Little to no, is there even state tax? Little to no state tax. Whatever it may be. Which, by the way, and I was actually gonna message Rivka if she's ever listening to this. I don't know if she's bailed out like Kyle at this point, because I see her in here sometimes, but not as often now. But I would be legitimately curious to see. I don't know how it's possible to see teams actual like spending money in conjunction to their, or if that's even the right phrasing, in conjunction to their taxes. Like, how much farther does Miami's dollar go than the Jets, than the Pats, then the Bills, then the Colts? Like, I really want to see that, because I think the league should legitimately adjust their salaries to the whole tax thing, because your dollar goes a lot farther in Texas and Miami than it does in Jersey. It just does. Now, do I recognize that maybe places with like less taxes, like Texas or Miami, is their gallon of milk maybe, I don't know, fucking $8 versus $5 here or something like that? Maybe that can trickle into it, but I realize it's just deeper than like surface level shit. But I would like to see. Kev Shada says we're going to have a lot of growing pains if we get 3 new starting offensive linemen. Yeah, okay, but at the same time, we're going to have a lot of pain if we keep the guys, right? If you keep Turner or Mitchell's going to be worse than a guy getting used to the new position there with new guys. No, same thing for tackle, same thing for guard. Because at the end of the day, even if Tomlinson does say he's going to have a new tackle next to him anyway, so I'd rather just get new guys. It's not like it's sake of continuity for the sake of continuity when you're bad doesn't really mean much. Not going to pay Zach Wilson $11 million to play for the Giants. How much can they get out of that contract though? Like how much do they save? I'm legitimately asking. Zach Wilson contract. I use OTC over the cap. I like them the best. How much money can they save any? Oh, what the fuck? Okay, OTC. Now you screwed me. There we go. Contract. Do they save anything next year if they get rid of him? No, 11 million dead. Yeah, okay. So they don't save any of it. I guess it depends on the pick, right? I don't know. And how messy is the situation? Who do they bring in? I don't know. It's gonna be difficult to predict. Okay. Coaches Club seats around 100 on StubHub. Face value $700. Blue body, blue raised arms. We're talking about for the Jets right now. We're talking about the Jets for Coaches Club seats. Yeah, I saw it last week where tickets were like $4 in some spots. Just brutal. Sorry, I think they could use another year for drafting and developing. Of course. Okay. We would have been much better keeping QB White instead of signing running back Cook. Yeah, again, with acknowledging the fact that if we offered the same to Mike White as Miami did, would he want to come back here? Because at that point, he's going to say, okay, you clearly want Zach Wilson to be something here, so he's competition for me. You have Aaron Rodgers, so at best I'm 2, maybe 3. We go to Miami. 2 is hurt pretty frequently. Going to Miami, warmer weather, taxes, all that stuff, so whatever. Highlander Prime says, I'm not the film expert that you guys are, and I knew bringing in Cook was a mistake. Again, Highlander Prime, like it's not a thing where I'm saying that every eye catches Tomlinson would be bad, or every eye catches that Uzama would be bad, or Carter Warren or Max Mitchell or whoever. Like those, okay, I can understand why people would like those people, whatever it may be. There's no reason for Cook. You don't even need an expert at all. Just watch. He's running into wide open gaps, dropping balls, fumbling balls, just terrible. Joe, was Dalvin Cook a direct result of Rodgers giving back money and telling JD he wants him? Do you think next year Rodgers has less person? First part of the answer, yes. Do I think that was because of Rodgers taking the pay cut? 100%. I do. Do I think that Rodgers has less personnel decisions next year? No, I do not. Do I think he should? Yes. Right? Simple as that. Rodgers has the Jets by the balls. They're going to do what he wants. So, I wanted Zach Tom instead of Max. Zach Tom was he's like a freak athlete, right? Like really high on the RAS type of board. So Max Mitchell turned out to be a big disappointment for us. Honestly, I like Max as a rookie. Yeah, but I don't know why. I honestly don't know why, Dakota. I think relative to expectations, he was maybe okay, but he was still really bad last year. It's not like he was good last year. I just think that, I don't know, Jets fans tend to cling on to any sliver of hope we ever get. So if he has a good game or two or a good block that Baldy puts up, we'll attach ourselves to that. We were obsessed with Lorenzo Molding a couple of years ago for no reason. Like it just, I don't know. I agree with this is from RJ. I agree with your generational prospect every year statement. However, I believe that Brock Bowers is truly generational. Okay. Fine. But is he more, and I'm legitimately asking because I'm not the biggest college football fan. I have not heard as much of Brock Bowers as I had before Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts seemed to be generational based on how he was talked about. So is Brock Bowers more highly rated than Kyle Pitts? I don't know. Pitts hasn't worked out great. With that being said, you have Arthur Smith, who will not throw the ball to fucking please this week for the sake of my teams, throw the ball to Drake London, hand the ball off to Bijan, please. But with that being said, you have a guy in Arthur Smith who doesn't really maybe utilize Pitts like he should be. But tight end prospects tend to develop slower anyway. And then where are you fitting him? Like if you are drafting Brock Bowers, one, what's the adjustment to the NFL? Tight ends tend to adjust very slowly to the NFL because you're playing offensive line and receiver basically at the same time. And then past that, how does he even fit in? Do you then have Ruckert, who's been a decent tight end 2 this year when he's targeted and stuff? Is he now tight end 3? So is Brock Bowers is he more impactful as tight end 2, tight end 3 as starting tackle would be? I don't think so. Now, if he's truly generational, I agree with you. Okay, generational guy, the generational guy, but so is Kyle Pitts. Dom C says, Joe, is it me or do all Jets fans give ABT a proverbial free pass at all the time? I'm not denying the talent, but the availability or lack thereof is a real problem. Yeah, for sure, dude. Like you have to acknowledge that going into next year that he has been injured, and last year's injury was obviously the triceps, so it's a little bit more like passable. Like, okay, how often are you really going to tear your triceps? It's not a very frequent injury in the NFL, even though while acknowledging it does happen, but you have that stacked on top of the fact that he tore his Achilles this year. Is he going to be the same offensive lineman in a year? You hear that it takes a year for guys to get back, and I would say obviously that's more for like explosive positions, defensive end, getting off the line, corner, receiver, all of that stuff, tight end, whatever it may be. But it still makes an impact on an offensive lineman. So what is he going to be next year? 1, and 2, you also acknowledge the fact that he's had some injuries. So is he injury prone? You don't just rely, like it's hard to just say. I think you kind of have to rely on ABT at this point because you have to fix tackle, left guard before you have to rely on, or before you have to be concerned about, ABT's backup at right guard. But I agree with the sentiment in saying that he doesn't just get a free pass. Like he's still a question mark. Tippmann, overall, we think he's gonna be good. He could take a turn for the worse. He's a question mark overall, what he's going to be. ABT, can he stay healthy? It's a question mark. There's question marks all down the offensive line. Literally all 5 spots right now. Questions. Stanley Mann says the problem with JD is he puts all of his apples in Rodgers' basket. He appeased Rodgers by signing washed up Cobb and mediocre Lazard. He let Fant and Moses go without replacing them. Yeah, the Fant. I agree with you on Fant and Moses. Moses left because I think he was assuming that he was not going to get a starting spot with the Jets, and then went to the Ravens for a starting spot. So it is what it is. Cobb, realistically, am I going to kill him for receiver 5 or what should have been receiver 5 or 6? I can't, because that's his boy. Okay. Lazard, a little bit overpay. I understand still. But once you kind of fly out to Santa Clara or whatever, or meet with Rodgers and all this stuff, and you sign him to a big contract to be saying, hey, I like this guy, are you going to say no? You know, it's a little bit harder said than done, in my opinion. I don't know. Dom C, ABT has talent, but his availability is not. Yeah, no, for sure. And Dom C responds exactly how he should. What is good talent if it can't stay on the field? Yeah. Joe, it's draft night. We're on the clock. Who are you selecting? Caleb Williams. We got Caleb Williams at 4, and somebody just traded us 6 first-round draft picks to get him. That's what happened. No, realistically, it's Alter Fashanu, most likely for the Jets. Anthony Hopkins, Zach is coming back. He'll get his 2 full years of watching Rodgers. Probably not. 1, because I think it's just they're probably just going to part ways at this point. And 2, he's only under contract for 1 year, so you're not expecting his 5th-year option for $16, $17, $18 million. I forget exactly what it is. You're not doing that. Yeah, you're not doing that. He's not going to be here for 2 years. I think he's gone. Rucker was a 3rd-round pick. Yeah, okay, later 3rd. Since when is that a later round pick? Yeah, it's you're kind of talking about when I was talking about like when did he develop any talent later on offense? I'm sure there might be a guy. I can't really think of any, honestly. Again, Gibson is probably the only thing you could say because he made the roster as a UDFA. So we'll praise him for that. But did I say 4th for Rucker before? 3rd-round pick is not. That's not late. I consider like first is a first, seconds is still a really valuable pick, and then 3rd and 4th are like mid rounds, and I would say 5th, 6th, 7th to me is like the later round picks. So I can't wait for both the offseason. Man, we've been saying that for years before football season's over. Never fails. Again, the Jets have never stopped sucking. Okay. If that's coming from a Jets fan, I'm okay with it. If you're not coming from a Jets fan, then eat it. Because if you're a Dolphins fan, you haven't won shit. If you're a Bills fan, you haven't won shit. If you're a Pats fan, okay. It is what it is. So if Rodgers is going to play the next 2 years, it doesn't make sense for Zach to sit behind him, especially since the Jets will sign a vet QB. Yeah, Stanley, I'm with you. I think he most likely leaves because he wants a change of scenery or a chance to start somewhere else, potentially. If Saffold was any good, someone would have picked him up before the Jets in terms of talking about Saffold before. Yeah, I'm not saying that he's good. I would like to see him get an opportunity over Hansen, while also acknowledging they see him in practice and he sucks in practice. Then okay, I get it. But I'm also not the appeal to authority type saying, oh well, I trust what they see in practice because I don't think they know what they're talking. Or I don't trust their eyes on a lot of stuff. So, bro, get a shape up, bro. Okay, it's a widow's peak. Can't really do much about a widow's peak that grows faster. And 2. It's a football show. Why do we give a fuck about how the host looks, bro? Get a life. I would have brought my iPods if I remember you were streaming today. My bad. Yeah, Kev. I think Fridays is going to be what it is. And then next week we'll see about the stream for the Browns game. I think I am streaming during the Browns game. NYC taxes and cold weather for Mike Evans, not a great trade-off. Yeah, like I said, like if you were Mike Evans, would you want to play for the Jets? I don't know. Will wide receiver Pittman be a free agency? It would be sweet to finally get Pittman. Mims obviously didn't work. He, as of right now, is going to be a free agent, Kev. But with that being said, do the Colts extend him? Do they just let him walk? It's not like the Colts are bursting at the seams with offensive talent or talent in general. Why they let Michael Pittman go, who is a lower tier 1 or a really good 2? Like Pittman as your 2 is, I'll sign for that all day. So, also randomly 75% of the Jets home games are rain games. Yeah, I feel that because I've been to pretty much all of them. The only game I didn't go to this year was the Texans game. A little bit under the weather, and I feel like they were going to get their asses beat. I just really didn't feel like going, but yeah, no, it's a lot of range. Rained. How Rodgers do next year? How will Rodgers do next year? I'm hoping for a top 10 quarterback. Okay, let's see. Scrolling down in the chat, I'm about 7 minutes behind. Hey Joe, so Blue and Splits is now on Fridays. Haven't seen you in a few weeks. Yeah, notifications obviously, but with my schedule again, it's a little bit crazy. So I used to do Wednesdays, Thursdays. I think Thursdays always better than Wednesdays because I don't get the film out by Wednesday, or I don't get done watching it. So Thursdays work. It just doesn't work with my schedule, my wife's schedule. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do Fridays. I know it's a little bit outside of the range where people still care about the game, but it is what it is. I think Fridays at 5 or 6 are gonna be the new time. And then, like I said, next week I think I'm gonna do the game stream. I know other people do it. I usually don't do it, so I'm not expecting really anybody in here. But if you guys want to watch the game while I'm watching the game and get, I don't know, I'm just gonna have to drink and just have fun with you guys, just get fucking hammered or something. RJ says, who is the biggest culprit in the run defense? Is it Quentin Jefferson, Solly, linebackers? We know Whitehead is a part of the problem. It's part of the problem is the Jets scheme. This Jets scheme is never going to be conducive to a good run defense. You know, in a 3-4, we are 2-gapping, and you're pretty much always going to be better. Even if you have bad talent, I think that system in general is more conducive to run stopping. It's just never going to be as good pass rushing, obviously depending on talent. So their scheme is specifically part of the problem. But yeah, you know, there's some problems with the interior. You don't really have a guy who's going to be eating up double teams and stuff like that, or being able to hold their ground like Al Woods could. Quentin Jefferson is lighter in the pants, you know, so he's not going to be a great run defender, even though how bad he was in Seattle was a little bit overstated in my opinion, just based on the fact that they played a system that that's not conducive to his skill set. But yeah, it's a scheme. It's a scheme thing. Honestly, it's a scheme thing. And I think adding a big boy in the middle and Whitehead and Tony Adams missing some tackles does not help it either. So it's a few guys. Rucker and Cowboys tight end Ferguson were in the same draft class. Do you think Rucker's better? I haven't watched Ferguson, Kev. Now I don't know what his stats are. I think his stats are actually decent because I've seen him catch. He caught a touchdown against the Jets, right? So I know he's been one of their I think he's been their starter. So I'm sure he's produced more. Now put Rucker in his situation. How different are the numbers? Even though, well, acknowledging I don't know what the numbers are, I'm assuming he's doing fine based on the question. But I think Rucker's fine. You know, comparatively to him, I don't know, but yeah. Joe, did you not originally like Tomlinson signing? Most people were on board with including myself, unlike Dalvin Cook signing. Chrono Kenny, you could find the stream after we signed him. I said I thought he was overpaid. And I did the film review, and I thought he was really overpaid. So, no, I did not like it. Now, did I think he would be this bad? No, I thought he would be like average, but no. So, give Joe the thumbs up, guys, girls. He's doing a great job this holiday Friday. Yes, I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody travels safe, says a Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, all that stuff. Should be good. Do you think the Jets should try Becton at left guard? Would you re-sign him on a prove-it deal? I would re-sign him on a prove-it deal, but what's that prove-it deal? $5-6 million max? Okay, sure, I guess. Maybe 4, just realistically. You know, based on what the market is, you're not going to get some stud. I don't think there's a lot of studs in free agency, so taking a risk on his talent for $4 or $5 million. Now, he's probably played like he deserves $1 million or $2 million. But is it worth another $3-4 million for the potential upside and what he showed you, you know, earlier in the year and in his rookie year? You know, I understand the shot there in conjunction with the fact that the offensive line free agency class is balls this year. You know, worth a shot. 1-year prove-it deal, fine. But does he sign that 1-year prove-it deal? And on that 1-year prove-it deal, am I going to move him to guard? No, unless let's say, hey, I don't know, the Jets draft Joe Alt, they re-sign Becton, and then their backup plan of Becton again this year is to draft the guy in the 3rd round. That 3rd round guy goes absolutely off. We're still struggling at left guard with Tomlinson. Move him there, try it. Okay, fine, fuck it. But realistically, it's unrealistic. Yeah. I see you're live. God bless you, Joe, for continuing to do these streams, even though the Jets suck again. Yeah. Hopefully next year I will be able to use that meme photo of you on the truck smoking. Oh, that was you on Twitter. Yeah. That was a good game. That was after we beat the Bills. We were beating the Bills, smoking cigars on the top of the bus and doing the Buffalo chant that Buffalo Bills fans who walked by. And then there's like the classic, and it is what it is. Like everybody's boozed up and stuff like that. But there was like the classic guy. He had to be 75, 120 pounds max, like very frail, like doing the hold me back, bro, to his friend, like trying to walk over to us, but he couldn't get around his one friend who was barely holding him. It's like, okay, dude. It's like you're 75. What are you gonna do? You know, just take the L. You're going to get chance at you. You're in fucking MetLife Stadium. Do you think you're going to walk through the Jets game or the Jets parking lot after the Jets win and not get some chance at you and shit? You're stupid. You've never been to an away game. You got to eat it at away games. If you're going to get personally offended by people talking shit about your team when you're in an away game, don't go. Don't go. Because it's not going to happen. You're going to get shit. You're going to get shit. I thought Alan Lazard was this good blocker. Whatever happened to that? I don't think it's been bad. Now, was it overstated? Yes, it was, because Corey Davis has always been a better blocker. Okay. I want to say the 09 Lions went 0-16 too. Did they go 0-16? Or aren't the Browns the most recent team to go 0-16? Let's see. Winless NFL teams, I guess, in history? In history. Let's see. Was it them? You have the 2017. Okay. Who was that in the picture, by the way, for the Browns? I think it's Brandon Weeden. The Cowboys in 1960, 11-1. They 76 Bucks, 0-14. 82 Baltimore Colts, 0-8-1. I guess that's a shortened season or something like that. 08 Lions, 0-16. So you're right, 08, not 0-9. And then 2017, the 0-16 Cleveland Browns. But yeah, I don't know what you're talking. You're talking about this team or the offense, I should say. Sorry. It's been worse than the tanking Jets of 2020. It's like factual. Statistically, they're worse, which I did not think could happen, but apparently it can. Not a Jets question, but if you were ever seen the tape, what are your thoughts on Justin Fields? Not much tape of him, obviously in the NFL. In college, do I think he was overhyped? I do. I think a lot of Ohio State's concepts are pretty quarterback friendly. I think his accuracy was largely overrated. I thought he was a little bit overrated as a quarterback. He hasn't been doing great with the Bears. Now, to speak on what he's done in the NFL level, it's kind of hard. And even talking about my evaluation of him 4 years ago, it's kind of hard because there's been so many evaluations since then. It gets clouded. But I remember not liking his touch on the ball. His simple offense, and I thought sometimes he really had to see a guy open instead of throwing him open, so I didn't love him as a prospect. Quarterback is the hardest. It's legitimately the hardest position to evaluate, because I like Zach Wilson, and look how bad that turned out. I like Sam Darnold, look how bad that turned out. I think I have to be much more on my quarterback evaluations. I have to be much more of an asshole. Like I really have to nitpick when they do stuff wrong, because it's only going to be exemplified in the NFL. What does it say about our GM that he had to give this much of his authority to Rodgers to save his ass? Might as well make Aaron GM if he has final say in these decisions anyway. Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. At this point, at the point last year they signed Rodgers, they realized, hey, we're underwhelming right now because we're not winning. We haven't had a winning season since 2015. So they were desperate last year, and that's why they brought in Rodgers. And now they're even more desperate because this year went piss poor. So Rodgers has even more of a firm grasp on their balls than he did, 6 months ago. I know I've been spamming it, but if it weren't obvious, I think Matt Sims. We're talking about like, who is the Sims? That's his brother, right? Did we have Chris or Matt Sims? And you might be talking about a different guy. There might be a Matt Sims in the draft, something like that. I don't know MU. Again, I'm not the biggest college football guy, but did we have Chris and Matt's the analyst? I don't know, but either one of those guys, no. Then how about signing and trading Huff for wide receiver Pittman in a 5th round pick? Well, then they would have to sign and trade him too, right? Because that would be franchise tag to a franchise tag and a trade for a 5th round pick. How does the money work there and stuff like that? If you're telling me right now in a vacuum, Huff or Pittman next year, I'm taking Pittman. I'm sorry. I think they could get by with JFM, with JJ, with Q, with McDonald's Leap better than getting by with Alan Lazard as receiver too. You see what I'm saying? Like, I like the depth of the defensive line more than I like the depth of receiver. So I had to pick one or the other. I'll probably take Pittman and a 5th round pick, I guess. That's also the top of my head. So I might think in a 30 minutes, like, oh no, I'm an asshole, but Joe, and you mentioned that we need to add a safety. Who are we replacing, Adams or Whitehead? Whitehead is not under contract for next year, and he's balls anyway, so he should not be extended an offer. Salah repeatedly saying the pressure at the presser that he has to check the tape is exactly what Adam Gase used to say. That's enough to fire Salah. Yeah, you'd like to see a coach who can, and I think it's the easy thing to say, hey, I got to check the tape, so you don't have to necessarily give answers, because all the answers are going to be either right and then you're admitting your flaws, or wrong and then you're even heavily criticized, or even more heavily criticized. So, sometimes with him in the media, like coaches being very vague and stuff, I'm not going to kill them for it. But there are times where it's like, hey, you'd like to see a little bit more in-game adjustments or some knowledge of what happened. I don't know. Pete Ananelli says, Joe, what's going on, man? Your feelings with the early returns on Carter Warren? Be nice to find one. Not good. I didn't like him in college, and so far he's been doing the NFL in a limited sample size, has not instilled any type of confidence that he's going to develop into any type of player. I said it from the jump that was my least favorite pick. So, sorry. Safe to say, it's time to move on from Becton. Yeah, it's been bad. It's been really, really, really bad. Tag and trade Huff, Brandon Whedon. Yeah, man. He's like a 26, 27-year-old quarterback, a first-round pick, and he just did not look like a quarterback at all. Like, at all. What's it going to take to change? What's it going to take for change turf to grass? Is it solely his Woody decision? Well, you also have the mayors, right? That's the Giants owners. I'm sure they have to agree to it at some point. Obviously, it's more money for upkeep and all that stuff, because it's not fake and you have to actually upkeep it. With that being said, I think that the turf versus grass thing is a little bit overstated. There was an actual study, I forget where it was, but the difference is it's pretty minuscule. Now there is a difference, but it's not something like, hey, turf field proven 80% more chance of injury risk than the grass field, because then everybody would have it. I think it's a preference of players, and it might be very slight difference, but the Jets change their shitty turf to apparently even shittier turf, but it wasn't getting a lot of criticism in the offseason for the turf they were implementing, or that they were putting in. They had criticism for the old turf. So, there's plenty of teams with turf, the Saints and the Vikings and whoever else. I prefer grass, but is it actually going to change? Probably not. Probably not. I don't know. It's kind of hard but it's not only Woody, right? Because it's a Maris. It's a Maris too. I'm talking about former Jets legend Matt Sims. Chris is the analyst. Thinks it's his brother. I'm assuming you're not being realistic with Matt Sims being the Jets backup quarterback. Would you bring Stephen Hill back on yeah, sure. Okay. That post was sarcastic. I just remembered when a lot of Jets fans thought Stephen Hill was our next great wide receiver. The guy couldn't catch with his hands at Georgia Tech. That was such a bad pick, man. Like watching even his highlights in college, I was like, ugh, like every single ball that guy caught. And this is when he was drafted in what year was that? 2013, 2012. So I was like 20 and like I wasn't watching film. Like I wasn't legitimately watching film. So I would do the same thing that 95 being generous, other Jets fans do, and just go watch the highlights. And even the highlights, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good. I had a similar feeling with Ardarius Stewart. Go watch that man's highlights from Alabama and tell me you're impressed. Just watch the highlights. Even the highlights are bad. Like every single catch, every single ball was a wide open yak opportunity. It's just yak, just running into open field. I'm like, this does not look good. I don't know. So, okay. Talking about Stephen Hill and Breno Giacomini and all this stuff. I'll jump off now. The upcoming game, who gives a shit? Hopefully they lose at this point. Brain over heart is saying to lose. Even my heart's probably going to say lose in this next game. I think I'll be back next week with the stream being on the nights of the Jets-Browns game. And I think the game starts at like 8:15. I might hop on like 7:30 and then just stream the game because I have the TV literally right here. And I'll talk to you guys. And that'll be kind of the deal next week, because I'm not going to do a film review on Monday. And I'm not going to be able to get the film out Tuesday, Wednesday to get the show out by Wednesday. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. So I will see you guys next week, Thursday for the game, most likely. I'm 99% sure I'm going to do that. Also, that being said, I recorded a film show earlier in the day. So it's not out yet. If it's not out already, go back and watch if you want to, seeing me talk about a lot of the problems with the offensive line and why and whatever else. It was not fun to do, but it shows you truly how fucking bad they were. So if you want to go back and watch that, it should be out. I'll just throw any other comments up real quick. I am thinking about going to the game and just hanging out at the Coaches Club. $81 tickets, Coaches Club on StubHub. Cheapest tickets, $7. Dude, yeah. Coaches Club for $81. If you're gonna go and have a good time, like that's worth it. Jordan Victor, I think that's fine. Christmas Eve, Commanders. It should be an actually decent game they can watch. So, yeah, in my opinion, we win Commanders and Pats game. Shake my head. Yeah, Kev, I'm with you, man. The Jets find ways to disappoint, so they're not going to lose now. They'll win 2 games and push themselves to the 12th or 13th pick instead of the 5th or 6th or like that. So, okay. With those last few questions, good choice, Lamo. Yeah, again, talk about parental jock, me, all that shit. I'm not going to just stay on. I appreciate you guys. I will catch